Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special episode of Rock and Roll English. In fact, it's not even really an episode of Rock and Roll English because my friend Zenik from Zenik's English podcast interviewed me on his Learn English Through Football channel. I apologise if I've not got the exact words. He asked me about England in the World Cup, how I think it's been going, and we speak about the upcoming match, England against France. Now, I thought you may be interested to hear this, so have a listen. Zenik then on his channel explains all of the vocabulary, so make sure you go and check that out too. I will put the link to it in the description to this podcast. Okay, so here is Zenik's episode. Happy listening.
Hello, welcome to Learn English with Football World Cup Special, a show in which I talk to my friends and football fans about the World Cup 2022 in Qatar. Stay tuned until the end because that's when I'll be going through some cool English vocabulary from this interview. And today's guest is Martin. Hi, Martin. Welcome back.
Hi, Zenik. Nice to be here.
Nice to have you here, obviously, Martin, from the Rock and Roll English podcast. So let's jump straight into it. You are here to talk football. And the first question is, obviously, about the England team. So how happy are you that England have been doing so great so far?
I have difficulty to put it into words, to be honest, because in my whole life, so I'm 38 now, I've never seen England play so well consistently in a tournament. So we've played 4 games now. Admittedly, the game against the USA wasn't great, but everyone's entitled to an off day. And we didn't lose. Other teams, I think maybe, I'm not sure about this, we're the only unbeaten team because Brazil lost to Cameroon, Argentina lost to Saudi Arabia, Portugal lost to someone.
Right.
Maybe we're the only unbeaten team. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, it's possible.
But just to see us playing so well, like to actually like fluid attacking. The first game of this World Cup, we played Iran, and I went to the pub with a couple of friends, and we said, "What do you think?" Now, Iran are actually quite a good team, but obviously England were the favourites, expected to win, and we all said it will probably be 0-0 or England will score a goal in the last few minutes, and it was just unbelievable. And then since then, in the Wales game, the Senegal game, I really was not expecting such an easy match against Senegal. Admittedly, they did play well in the first half an hour, but to win 3-0, I can't put into words. I'm just not used to it. It's a strange thing for me.
I'm very happy for you. Obviously, you say it's this tournament, but I would actually argue that it was the Russian tournament as well. Because you got very far there. You got into the semifinals, which was...
That's true. But if you look at those games, so we played Colombia in the first knockout game, and we just got through that on penalties.
Yeah.
And then we played Sweden in the quarterfinal. So we had an easy draw, let's say. We did actually win one game against Panama 6-1 in that tournament.
Right.
But
Harry Kane scored a hat-trick, I think.
Yeah, but I don't think we actually played so well. We beat Tunisia 2-1, and even in the Euros last year, I don't remember us playing like expansive football.
Okay. And so you feel like this is another level. You feel like you've added to it.
The other 2 tournaments, I thought it's quite a cautious approach, and we were like getting through games as opposed to like literally blowing teams away, which we're doing at the moment. And it's great to see because we have so many great attacking players. So our biggest strength, in my opinion, is attack. Attack is the best form of defense for us. Our defense is actually not very good. And that's why I'm so worried about the match on Sunday. I just hope and pray Southgate doesn't decide to play 5 at the back, because normally when we play let's say bigger team,
Yeah.
he always plays five at the back. He did that against Italy in the final, which I thought was stupid. Last year against Germany, when we played Germany last year, I just pray he just continues with what's been working.
Yeah, obviously you're referring to the France-England game. So
Yeah.
we are recording this, I think, few days after you qualified into the quarterfinals. So
Hmm.
you're going to play a quarterfinal match against France, a big game,
Mm.
obviously. And I've got more
Massive.
questions about that. But before we get to it, I was wondering if I could ask you this: who has impressed you the most in the England team?
Oh, easy. Bellingham.
Yeah, I wanted to
He
guess. Yeah, it's obvious.
he is. I mean, because he plays in Germany,
Mhm.
I don't really watch him very much. I mean, in comparison to in the past, I
Yeah.
don't watch much football at all these days because of I now work basically all the time, and I've got a young daughter, so I don't get much time. So I don't really watch Champions League, especially because my team are not in the Champions League. So I haven't seen him that much. I knew he was good, but I didn't think he was this good. He's
Yeah.
just unbelievable. He's like Steven Gerrard and Yaya Toure in one. Like he's just the way he just sort of powers through the midfield like he did against Senegal, just like smashing people off.
Confidence and the
Oh
best thing
my
about
god.
him is that he's only 18.
19, but yeah,
19,
he is.
sorry, 19, yeah.
That's still pretty young, isn't it?
Yeah.
um, and
Compare
I
it to
read,
us, it is, yes.
yeah, exactly. I read that he likes the number 22 because he sees himself, because in like football terminology they say
Yeah.
like you play like an 8 or play the number 10 role. He sees himself as a 4, 8, and 10. So he can play the defensive midfield number 4, he can play box to box number 8, and he can play attacking midfield number 10. So 4 plus 8 plus 10 is 22.
Is that
Um,
actually what he said?
yeah, yeah.
He's come up
This
with this himself.
Well, I read a story apparently when he was playing at Birmingham as a youngster. They said, "We want you to be a 22," and he said, "What's that?" And they
Ah,
said, "You can do everything, basically," and it
um,
just stuck with him.
right. So it's not
Um,
his idea, but it's actually quite cool. It has
yeah,
makes a good
but
story as well. Yeah.
the the thing is though, it's actually true. He can play. He can tackle. He can defend. He
Yeah.
can get box to box. He can attack and score goals. He is just unbelievable.
Mhm. And it doesn't seem to this pressure, the amount of pressure there is on the England players doesn't seem to sway him much, doesn't seem to get to him, right?
Absolutely. And he also, strangely, seems like a nice guy because modern footballers these days generally are not. And they're not the type of
Yeah,
people you think that you would probably like to spend much time with. But
yeah.
he actually just looks like a really nice, down to earth guy where you could just go out and have a drink and have a chat with him. He seems really level headed, which I think is good news for the future. Because I remember other times like this where we've had a wonder kid with
Yeah.
Michael Owen and Wayne Rooney. Now, Owen suffered a lot from injuries and he never really reached the levels he did after that 98 World Cup. Rooney is definitely not level headed and like was always going to go off the rails a bit.
Yeah.
He obviously still had a great career, but I think from what was expected of him in 2004, he never really hit the heights. But I think Bellingham could, because you can see he's fit. He takes care of himself. He seems like a level-headed, nice guy, and he's just going to get like bigger and stronger
Mhm.
and better. Which
Well,
so
fingers crossed. It's not
fingers
only
crossed
about one
indeed.
player, but to have such a young talent, such a
Yeah,
great prospect, obviously that can make a massive difference. But you don't only have one there. So as an Arsenal fan, I've always admired Saka. Yeah, and
I'm actually.
he's
Uh,
excellent in the England team, in my opinion. He's excellent there as well. Are you
yeah,
don't think so?
I like him definitely. But I just think it's almost like an embarrassment of riches in those positions for England at the moment because there's Saka,
Yeah.
there's Saka, Rashford, Foden,
Foden.
Grealish. Sterling obviously has had a problem, so he's now had to go home. But we've got so many players there. And against Senegal, I actually wanted Rashford to play. But really, it's almost a toss of a coin between them because
Okay. I'm,
I think
I, th-
that
I think you wanted,
they're both brilliant.
yeah, I think you wanted Rashford to play because you support Manchester United. So your
I
United
actually
heart was talking there.
no, well, in my opinion, it wasn't. I like in those positions, I like to have the wingers. So I think Rashford on the left and Foden on the right. So you come in on your good foot.
Hmm.
And so Saka was playing on the right, so coming in on his good left foot, but Foden was on the left, and I
Isn't
prefer
he always
Foden
there?
on the right.
Doesn't Foden also play on the left in the City team? I think he
I mean,
does.
I'm not 100% sure,
I'm
to
not
be
sure
honest. He
either,
plays
but
on the left, on the right. I prefer him coming in on his stronger foot, so he can come
mm,
in and get
mm,
involved in play instead of just hugging the touchline, as they say, and staying out wide as like a traditional winger. But yeah, but no, I really like him as well. He's a great
okay,
player, Saka.
fair enough.
Um, but like I said, it's almost you could flip a coin in those positions, and it doesn't really change
Yeah,
very much.
you're spoiled for choice there, and that's
Yeah,
great for your team, obviously. And what about Harry Kane then?
yeah, it's kind of like a new role now, isn't it? Because he just comes a lot deeper, but it just seems to be working so well. He kind of drops deep, brings the defender with him, and because we've got those fast wingers that can run past him. It's
Yeah,
just working absolutely brilliant. So
and his
yeah, he's
passing
doing.
range is great,
Oh
right? So
yeah.
yeah,
So and I was obviously happy for him to score the other day against Senegal, and that's the thing about him. You know, if he gets in that position, like one on one with the keeper,
hmm,
I mean, obviously there's a possibility he might miss, but you think he's going to score here. Like you think he's going to, and you're confident.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, I was happy for him. So yeah, he's been fantastic as well. Really, I mean, it's difficult to really criticize anyone in the England team at the moment.
yeah. Even in my opinion, Harry Maguire has had a
Yeah,
fantastic tournament. Someone that you wouldn't expect to
yeah,
shine so much, especially after the recent criticism and the treatment he got from the fans and the media.
hmm
You know, it's actually nice to see him bounce back. You know,
yeah, I agree.
out of all people, like I would be the first one to admit that I may have made a few jokes about him too, but to be honest, like he has been really great and
Yeah,
fair play to him.
um, yeah, and especially in that USA game, he was fantastic. Although I must admit, I am obviously very worried for the France game because
Mm.
that is going to be a different level
Do you know
there.
what? Ah,
Tell me,
Martin, you're
tell me.
frozen for me. Are you there?
I, yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, yeah, okay. You're frozen for a few seconds. Yeah, I've seen a meme. I've seen a meme of like predicted lineup and predicted tactics, and everyone was on the right hand side. All England players on the right hand side in the defense. that's I guess that's what's that supposed to mean is
Oh, like
that's
against
where you
Mbappe.
will be trying to stop Mbappe. Everyone will
Yeah,
do that, not just one person.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think though, like if I think of France's dangerous players, obviously they've got like one outstanding player in Mbappe. They've got Griezmann and Giroud, who's a
yeah,
decent player, but I think they should be equally worried. But we seem to have more than we have
yeah.
more of them. Admittedly, I don't think we have a player to the level of Mbappe, but we have more. We have Foden, Saka,
Exactly.
Kane,
That's
Bellingham.
that's exactly my next question. Does the England France match have a clear favorite? Because I don't know who to bet on, to be honest with you. I have no
I would
idea because
no,
it's like 50-50 for me, honestly.
I I would still bet on France just because they won the World Cup last time. Like they've got the experience, they've been there, done it, got the t-shirt kind of thing. And I
True.
think one of the biggest problems, not with this England team, in fact, this England team are proving the opposite. England teams in general is mentality. And
Yeah.
because of that pressure that we kind of when we get to a position like in the final against Italy, 1-0 up in the final, it's kind of like, what do we do now? I just think once we need to get over the line, and if we do that, it will change. But it's a mentality thing. It's kind of like Manchester City in the Champions League. I think they suffer just because it's like you just need to get that one. But
Yeah.
if you compare that to Liverpool in the Champions League, they just have that mentality. And so I think in terms of ability, there's probably not much in
Mm.
it, but mentality wise, I think the French are definitely in a better
Yeah,
position.
this is the question, right? Does this really play such a major role? Like you could talk about how the Japanese team got knocked out as well on penalties, and they didn't seem to have any confidence whatsoever when it
Hmm.
comes to penalties. And then you could talk about Germany, how they always used to be good despite playing shit sometimes, and they would always get to the final and win it or be in the final, right? Despite playing shit.
Mm.
So it's like how important is this and as an aspect, like how much, to what extent does it actually contribute to the overall success? uh, it's about fine margins, right? So in when it comes down to penalties, obviously, but does it really, like if you are the penalty taker or someone, does it, is this really the thing that you think about? Oh, Gareth Southgate mucked up his penalty and then we got knocked out, and is that what you think about the history of the like.
Well, I don't. So I think you maybe you're not thinking of the history, but I mean, even myself when I played football, if I was playing in the team where we were not the favourites to win, and maybe we were winning the match,
Mm,
you kind of do kind of. I remember thinking like, oh my god, like
yeah,
we might actually win this. Whilst when I was in the other position when I was playing and we were the favourites, even if we were losing, I was thinking like,
you're
we're going to
confident.
do this. We're
Yeah.
going to do this. So I think yeah, like you said, it's fine margins. I don't think it makes a massive difference, but we are talking about very fine margins here.
Mm,
So,
mm,
but I'm not talking about just penalties. If you're 1-0 up, again, like England in the final against Italy, we scored after a minute. We should have just attacked then and killed the game off before half time. But instead, the mentality was like we better start. Like we better
well,
sit back now, and we just invited pressure
mm,
for like 120 minutes, basically.
sometimes this works. Sometimes
Yeah,
you
of
have got
course.
teams
Yeah,
that can park the bus after going 1-0 up, and it works for them. So
yeah.
it really
But
depends. Like I feel like
I
you
just don't
always
think
find an
that's English
excuse.
style, though. I just don't think that's our, and that's what I'm talking about. That's what
Mm,
when I was talking about seeing us play. If you look in like Premier League and how we've had success in Europe, English teams, it's always been sort of like getting at teams. We're not like Italians are famous for that, aren't they? For like the like catenaccio, like the defensive,
yeah,
like the defensive game, like hitting you on the
tactical,
counter attack.
the
Whilst
tactical prowess.
yeah, that's not really England are more just sort of like run around like headless chickens and like but that's the way things work. I actually someone mentioned to me once about how even it's like a mentality thing of like because like in England like the British Empire like our mentality is to like attack um
Mm.
like while someone like Italy that have been invaded many times their natural instinct is to defend. I don't know if this is true.
I
I've
don't
just
think so,
read
because then
about it.
then you look at the ethnicity of your players, let's say, and is
Mhm.
it
Yeah,
really like what's British? Like it's British has so many flavors now. You know what I mean? Like I don't take this argument because for me it's weird because you're talking about like colonial mentality and like
like I
it's
said,
no
I'm not saying
longer.
that's true. I'm not saying that's true. I'm just telling you
Yeah.
something that I have read. I'm not
All
saying
right.
that
But for
that's
me it's like
true.
I'm not sure because like you've got all sorts of players in the
Yeah,
England team,
but
like
mate,
of different
like
ethnicities, and it's like
yeah,
different
we're
mentality,
going
right?
way above what I'm intelligent enough to understand here. But maybe it's a culture thing. I honestly
Yeah.
don't know. I was just mentioned something which some people
Mm.
may find interesting that I
Yeah, yeah,
read
yeah.
about
It
um,
is possible. Yeah,
in the
sure
past.
thing.
But so yeah, I can't even remember what the question was now.
Don't
But
worry.
what
Don't worry.
but I think our best possibility to win is to get at France to score early, score again instead of
Mm.
like scoring one, and then because that's the thing. Even so, if you look at the last two tournaments, it's very similar. England scored early against Italy in the final, early against Croatia in the semi-final, and then once the other team score, we didn't even have a chance. Like it wasn't even like our way of playing would be like to get another goal. In
Yeah.
fact, in the semi-final against Croatia, I remember in the first half, Harry Kane hit the post, and if that
Mhm.
had gone in, then
Mm.
maybe we could
Yeah.
have gone. But that I think that's what we need to win. If France score first, I think it will be difficult because I just don't think our players have got the mentality to get
Mm.
to.
Mm.
Obviously, you know, I'm of course I may be wrong. I hope I am, but if they score first, I think it will be tough.
To be honest, I expect some kind of tactical battle, and that was the next question I wanted to ask you. Like, what do you think will be Deschamps'
I'm,
approach against England?
I must admit, I haven't really seen much of France at all. I don't really know how much they play. I know they've got a few injuries. I mean, even actually of players that I actually know from the French team. Obviously, they've got Varane who plays for United as a defender. The front three, I don't really know many other players, so I don't know too much
Yeah.
about the way they play or the way that they have been playing. But obviously, they've got one of the outstanding players at the moment, which is a huge plus.
I've seen some of the matches, and to me, it is really about Mbappe, and also Giroud seems to be in good form,
Mm.
and overall the team seems to be working. It almost seems like the absence of Pogba, and now also Karim Benzema. You know, these are
Oh, God,
players that are
Benzema, yeah.
excellent players. Like Benzema,
Pogba, I don't think is. I absolutely hate him. He's the epitome of modern day footballer who's more interested in what color his hair is than how he's actually playing. He seems to think nobody has the right to tackle him.
yeah,
Although I know he apparently plays much better for France than
that's
he did
exactly
for
what I
Manchester
wanted to say.
United.
That
Yeah.
I think if he weren't injured, he would actually play. And in
Mm.
France, in the French team, he has mostly done really well. So
He just doesn't seem to play. Again, I'm basing this on his performances for Manchester United, but doesn't play as a team. He
mhm,
kind of thinks like I'm the man. Like I'm gonna. And the amount of time he loses the ball, my God, it would drive me crazy because I think he actually has this mentality of like, I'm Paul Pogba, no one can get near me. But
mhm.
that's not the case because he's playing with elite footballers.
So they don't have Pogba, they don't have Kante, and
Conte, yeah.
that's what I heard on a podcast. That's why Griezmann plays number 6 apparently.
Number
So
six he
I
plays. I
don't know if
thought
you
he
know
played
that,
like
but
off the
he plays
right in a
deeper,
four.
much deeper now. He
That
plays a
right.
deeper role. Yeah, he had to accept a new role. Apparently, that's I heard that on the podcast. I didn't even notice
Right.
it while watching the matches, but I assume it's right. It's like a reputable podcast about football.
Mm.
The Game podcast, by the way. If you guys want to listen to a really good podcast about football, I highly recommend the Game
Mm.
podcast.
Right.
And yeah, so I think the French team are definitely one of the strongest teams I have
Oh
seen
yeah, of course.
in the
And
tournament.
as well, they're the champions, aren't they? They won it last time, and from what I know, most of the players were there. They, like I
Mhm,
said, they've
mhm.
been there.
Yeah, I
So
think it's an important factor as well. But
yeah,
like you said, it comes down to the first goal sometimes, and
mm.
that can change everything. So quickly, do you think that if you beat France, you could go all the way?
Well, I'm going to say yes, but emphasis on the word could go all the way, not yes, we will go all
Yeah,
the way.
yeah,
But yeah, if we beat France, I mean, there's absolutely no reason why we shouldn't be able to.
yeah.
Well, of course, whether we will or not, that's totally different question. Lots of things can happen, especially in knockout football. You know, if you play, let's say we beat France, get into the semi final, and then you get a red card after 5 minutes, like anything can happen. But we
Absolutely. Yeah.
definitely could. And yeah, I mean, if we beat France, that will just be massive for us. I would have liked this a game against France because France is a huge game to be like a semi final. Because if we win this, it looks like probably the winner of England France will probably play Portugal. Now, I would have preferred Portugal in the quarterfinal and France in the semi, because like I still think France are a level above Portugal, so you're kind of building more momentum. So it's come a little bit early, but yeah, if we beat France, there's no reason to say why
Martin,
we shouldn't.
speaking of Portugal, I've got one final question for you, and I have to ask you this.
I can guess what it's going to be about.
I have to ask you this because you are a Manchester United fan, so it's about Ronaldo, of course.
Uh-huh.
So I want to ask you about your opinion. Like, what do you think about what's happening with Ronaldo, and obviously not just what happened during his final days with the interview he did, but also now in the Portuguese team.
Well, so it's not good, is it? It's
Mm.
it's a shame as well, because he's been and still is such a great player that it'll be a shame if he has like a horrible end to his career. Like, if, let's say, I don't know, he ends up leaving the World Cup and then he's basically been sacked by Manchester United and then plays the rest of his football in like Saudi Arabia. That would be like quite a sad ending to such a great career. But with Portugal, as far as I know, he hasn't really done anything wrong except be dropped.
Well,
um,
no, he was angry when
yeah, I
when
mean,
he
that's,
was
I mean,
really, but really angry. I think he left. He did not celebrate. Did you not see the images
yeah,
from
didn't he
the
leave?
Portuguese
Didn't
match
he
when they
leave
won?
early?
They won
Yeah,
6-1, right? And
yeah.
he did not celebrate with the players. I'm sorry, Martin, but
Mm.
that's to me, it's a lot of wrong, and he's only repeating. It's the same pattern,
Yeah,
and
yeah, I agree. Yeah,
he could have learned from his mistakes, right?
yeah.
But he repeats the same thing.
But
It's all about him. Like, I'm sorry,
so,
but
what
like,
I said at the time, until he did that interview, and also when he left the stadium early,
yeah,
I wasn't happy about that. But not being happy when when you're not playing, I don't think is such a bad thing,
I agree.
because when, in fact, it's something that annoys me is when I see players that come off after like 60 minutes, and you think they're not, they're almost happy. I think they kind of think,
They're
that's enough
laughing
for
and
me. Yeah. So
having fun.
being, and like, so being competitive in that way, I don't think
Yeah.
is such a bad thing. But when you're leaving the stadium early or something like that, then that's not acceptable.
He's not
Um,
happy. Clearly, he's not happy. So there was another player who scored a hat trick, right?
yeah, the one that took his place. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, but it almost looks like he is not happy that he scored hat trick because
But who?
it
Let's
wasn't
face
him
it.
who scored the
But
hat trick.
but
That
let's
shouldn't be
face it.
happening, right?
No,
That
but
shouldn't be happening.
that would happen. Any footballer would tell you that's true. If someone takes your place and scores a hat trick, you're not going to be happy, because now you know I'm not going to play. I'm not going to play again now.
It's a
Um,
team game, Martin, though. Like, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
and
Like,
of
if it's a
course,
league, if it's in the league,
but
okay, I give you that. But and if you're fighting for a spot, but this is much bigger than Ronaldo. It's
but
it's
the
it's his
thing the
last
thing
chance
about the
to win
thing
the World
about the thing about Ronaldo, the reason I'm happy now he's not a Manchester United player anymore, is because everything he does is so over analyzed. It's ridiculous. So an example of this is last year in the Euros, and he moved some Coca-Cola bottles
Cup. Yeah.
and said drink water. The
Yeah.
next thing you know, that's a massive story. Like that's irrelevant. But
Mm.
everything he does, so when you see him like not celebrating with the match, and after the match, I know he said, of course I'm happy, Portugal won. When you see him not jumping up and down, other players do that, but it's just not made such a big story. But with him, he can just literally, if he touches his hair like that, that it's a massive story.
You're right.
So
You're
so
right.
that's why I kind of feel when things like this happen, because I think it's fair enough if you're angry, you get taken off, and you're just a bit, if you're just a bit angry, but you keep it to yourself, you're like, you don't want to jump up and down, that's fine. But if you then start disturbing the team, and then that's not okay.
Mm,
Or
mm,
when, with for Manchester United, he refused to come on the pitch and then left the stadium, that's not acceptable.
yeah.
But just if you're not happy, but you keep it to yourself, and you're just a bit like, "Ah," but and then you think, right, you know what? In training tomorrow, I'm going to show them that I'm still the best. That's fine. that's absolutely fine in my opinion. But it's just with him, every single thing he does, the camera, I think, would probably be more interested in just watching him than the actual football, because the cameraman is more interested in what Ronaldo's doing. And I just think that it's just the Cristiano Ronaldo circus, like everywhere he goes, which is why I'm happy he's not a Manchester United player anymore, because it's just too much. It's just too much.
To be honest with you, like I feel almost let down by him. But I feel like he's tarnishing his legacy, and it almost feels like some sort of Shakespearean drama to me. The way his career is going right now,
But then
with the things that have been happening.
but if you think of someone like Maradona, who, so even when he left Napoli, like he left there like in, like it was not good circumstances, like with drugs and stuff, and they were happy that he left. Like that gets forgotten for what you've done on the pitch.
Yeah,
So
well, fair enough. Fair enough. If he wins the World Cup, he will.
yeah,
It's the same with
or
Messi. Whichever one of those two wins it is going to be
yeah,
immortal, and
yeah,
that's going to decide the debate:
of course, yeah.
who is greater, Ronaldo or Messi? For me, at least.
Yeah, of course. If one of them wins it, it's like
Yep.
end of story. Yeah. But
Exactly.
and also, for example, Roy Keane is another example. Like his ending with Manchester United was not nice, but if you go to any Manchester United match, they still sing his name. So
Mm.
these things do get forgotten, and it's
Ah,
very rare that you do
true.
have happy endings. To be honest,
True.
if I think of Brian Robson, one of the greatest players that ever played for Manchester United, was left out of the FA Cup squad, the
Yeah.
final in '94, which would have been his last game. If anyone deserved it, it was him. But it rarely does have a happy ending. So luckily, I think in time these things are forgotten for what
That's a
you
good
do
point. That's a good
on the
point.
pitch. Mm.
Fantastic, Martin. Thank you very much for all your insight. Good luck to England. Yeah, I hope you
Let's
smash
hope.
it.
I can't remember the last time I was this excited about a match. I would say I'm more excited about this than I was for the final last year, because I think it would just be such a massive
Mm,
statement
mm.
if we were to win. But so,
Yeah. Well, I
oh,
think you have a
fingers
chance
crossed.
for sure. You have a chance, and
Yeah, definitely a chance. Definitely a chance, but also a chance of losing 4-0. So,
this is a crazy tournament, though. So like anything could happen. You
yeah.
could also win 4-0. Like
Yeah, I
anything,
agree.
literally
Yeah,
anything
I
could happen
agree.
in this tournament. Like the stakes are really high, and
Yeah,
it's a different sort of place to play that game in. The fans are a bit different as well, right? So
yeah,
nobody's drunk. It's a completely different circumstances. So
yeah,
anything
yeah,
could happen. So
yeah.
Martin, thank you very much. And for you guys, stay tuned because I'm going to explain some vocabulary from this interview. Take care, Martin, and good
Thanks a
luck.
lot, Zenik. See you soon. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
So remember to check out Zenik's explanation of the vocabulary by clicking the link in the comments, not the comments, sorry, the description to this podcast. So stop the podcast now, click on the link in the description to the podcast, and then you can have a rundown of all of the vocabulary. But in the meantime, just keep on rocking, baby.